Hello and welcome back to the channel. On today's tutorial, I'm going to be sharing with you how to draft and sew a stylish keyhole neckline corset with a basque waistline. So if it's your first time in my channel, please hit on the subscribe button. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video. So I've gone ahead to mark out my basic measurement, which is my shoulder to bust, shoulder to underbust, shoulder to waistline, and I marked 5 inches for the bust, but I'm not going to use the full length. So now the next thing you're going to do is to go ahead and come down by 1 inch. But before I do that, I'm going to mark my shoulder divided by 2, which is 7 inches plus half, which is 7.5 inches. So from there I'll come down by 1 inch. And at this point I'll be marking my basic neckline of 3 by 3.5 inches. So we are still going to alter this neckline, so it doesn't really matter. So the next thing I'm going to do is to come down at the shoulder and I will outline my neckline. So I'll go ahead to mark my shoulder. I will outline my shoulder, and the next thing is to get my chest line. So to get your chest line is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to make a mark at that point. Mine is 7 inches, and I'll take what I have from that point to my chest line, from my chest line to my bust point, and I'm going to draw a straight line. So now I'm going to place my ruler, and I'm going to draw a straight line connecting down to that line. So after I'm done connecting, the next step I'm going to take is to divide what I have into 2. 7 divided by 2, I have 3.5. So before I go ahead and mark that, I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. So that will be a guide to draw my armhole. And at that half, at the armhole, I'm going to go in by ½ inch. Place your French cuff touching that point down to your bust circumference, and place your French cuff also and connect to the upper part of the shoulder. So after I'm done connecting this, I'm going to outline it with my marker. So now I'm going to be marking my nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7.7 inches, sorry, divided by 2, I have 3.5, and I'm going to mark it at the chest line, bust line, under bust, waist, and the basque length. So now I'm going to place my ruler and I'm going to connect, drawing a straight line touching all those marks that I have made. So now the next step I'll take from here is to divide my shoulder into 2. So dividing what I have, I'm going to fold my tape this way and I will mark at this point. Go ahead and connect from your shoulder point down to the chest line. So we'll be using this when we are cutting out the keyhole neckline. The next step is to take your dart intake of 1.1 inch, sorry, but for a plus size you can go ahead and mark 1.5. So I'm going to connect from my underbust down to my waist, from my waist down to the basque length, and on the other side also I will repeat the same process. So after I'm done connecting, the next step is to go ahead and use your marker, and I'm going to make it more visible. So after I'm done doing this, the next step is to draw your cup, and I'll place my French cuff touching my bust line down to my under bust line. Then place my tape again touching my bust line down to my under bust line. So this is the fastest and easiest way to draw out your cup. So now, depending on what you want to, where your yoke wants to start, so I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. You can use 2 inches or 2.5 if you don't want to reveal any cleavage at all. So now the next step I'm going to take is to mark my dart intake. My dart intake is 1 inch at both sides. For a plus size, you can use 1.5 inches. So I'll connect from that point down to that 1 inch dart intake at the top, and on the other side also I'm going to go ahead to connect. So after I'm done connecting, this is what I have. So after I'm done connecting, go ahead and outline that point so that it's going to be more visible for you to see. So at my chest line, I'll go in by 1/2 inch and I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch also. So after doing this, I'll go ahead to outline. And the next step I'm going to take from here is to connect from that point down to my under bust this way. So this is what I have at this point, and I'll place my French curve and I'm going to connect from that point down to the 1/2 inch I came down from. So now you're going to place your tape at this point and mark your bust circumference divided by 4. So whatever I have between my armhole and my bust circumference, I'll divide it into 2, place my French curve, and I'm going to go ahead to connect. So after I'm done connecting, to make sure that your yoke meets you can go ahead to blend in your pattern. So I'm just going to connect from this part down to the armhole and I'm going to draw out my yoke. So this is my cup A and my cup B. Now we are going to be marking the body circumference. Mark your bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace, and mark your sewing allowance. So whatever you have at the chest line, take it down to the bust. At the under bust, mark your under bust circumference, measure the dart intake, and mark your sewing allowance. At the waist, mark your waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, and mark your sewing allowance. So whatever I have at my waist, I'm going to take it down to my basque, because this is not an inbuilt corset and we are going to actually cut out that part when we are drafting out the basque waistline of this dress. So go ahead and connect from your chest line to your bust line to your under bust to your waist and down to your basque length. So after I'm done doing this, I'm just going to use my marker and I'm going to outline it so that my pattern is going to be very visible. And I will label this as my yoke, and I'm going to still alter my pattern later. So I'll go ahead and cut out my pattern. So if you have any question regarding this tutorial, please leave your comment at the comment section. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit on the subscribe button. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. So after I'm done cutting out my pattern, this is what I have, and now we are going to alter it. So I'm going to make sure my waistline meets, and from that point I'll go down by 3 inches. So after going down by 3 inches, I'll come in by my sewing allowance and I'll connect it down to that point. So I just feel that the basque I have is a bit deep, but I'm still going to cut it out when we are actually sewing the pattern. So on the yoke part, I'll place my tape, come up by 3 inches from that point. So I'm going to connect it back to my yoke this way and I'm going to draw it out. So this is what I have. And at this point I'll come in by 1.5 inches. You can go ahead and come in by 2 inches also, and from here I'm going to connect. So after connecting it, the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead and cut out this part that is not needed. Now moving over to the back, I've gone ahead to mark out all my basic measurements just like we did for our front pattern. The only difference is that I added a zipper allowance to this and our measurement stopped at the waistline. So now to mark your dart, you're going to place your tape at your shoulder, mark your shoulder to bust plus 1 inch. So at that point, from my zipper line, I'm going to be coming in by 3.5, which is my nipple to nipple divided by 2. So you're going to come in from your nipple to nipple divided by 2, sorry. Then you're going to go ahead to connect your pattern, your line, sorry. And after connecting, you can go ahead and extend it down to your chest line. So now I'm going to be marking 1/2 inch at both sides and I'm going to connect from that point down to the 1/2 inch at the lower part. So go ahead and repeat the same process for the other side. Go ahead and connect. So after I'm done doing this, I'll just go ahead to outline my dart intake at both sides and extend the line upwards. I'll go ahead and draw out my chest line because it's going to serve as a guide. So now I'm going to be drawing the yoke for the back and I will come down by 1 inch. So from there, I'm going to connect it back to that line I have, which is my nipple to nipple line divided by 2. So I'm going to go ahead and connect. So this is what I have for the yoke of the back, and I'm going to go in by 0.25, shade it out so that my yoke is going to lap at the back this way. So you're going to cut out what you have in front of the yoke because it's not needed. So now I'll be inserting my body measurements. So I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4, add my sewing allowance. At the underbust, I'll mark my underbust circumference. So all my measurement is starting after the zipper. So I'm just going to turn my tape this way so that you won't get confused. After marking that, my underbust circumference, I'll measure the dart intake and mark my sewing allowance. At the waist, I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace it, and I'm going to mark my sewing allowance. So go ahead and connect your pattern. So after connecting your pattern, just go ahead and outline it. So after I'm done outlining it, the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead to cut out this pattern. But before I cut out, I will be getting rid of the bulginess at the back of the dress, which means I'll go in by 1/2 inch and I'm going to extend it upwards. So after this, I'm just going to go ahead to cut out my pattern. So with this, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. So if you have any question on this pattern, please go ahead and ask at the comment section. And for the darts we have at the back part of the dress, you can go ahead to blend in your darts if you don't want to sew or stitch up your darts. Thank you for watching to the end, and see you in our next video. Thanks.